Emil, Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my Takeout, my Emil Amok's Takeout. Hey, I'm still in Vancouver. I'm still at the Fringe Festival. Oh, I'm upside down there. Emil Amok, 69, that's the name of the show. And there's the QR code. I've got a show tonight at 6:15. Yeah. So they give me All right, here we are. We're back. We're reconnected again. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, this is what happened. I mean, this does not reflect well on the internet that is Canada, but just my particular situation. Anyway, the Vancouver Fringe Festival, Emil Amok 69, at the review stage. Tonight, 9/12, 6:15 p.m. And then coming back on Sunday, Merienda, 4:20 p.m. on the 14th to close it off. And then I self-deport. What is this, Emil Amok 69? Is it a sex show? Is it about sex? Well, as I like to say, you can see it right side up or upside down. And that's why I'm positioned that way. Oh, and hit the QR code while you're at it. It's a fun show. It's a fun show. I talk about my life. I talk about how politics is personal and the personal is politics. And I talk about how people of color have been screwed for a long time by politics. And you want to talk about political violence because everyone wants to talk about political violence these days. Well, political violence toward people of color, it was a thing for a long time in America. Anyway, Emil Amok 69 at the Vancouver Fringe. Check it out. Oh, it's also scrolling on your screen. Check it out. Two more shows. I've done 6 shows, or I'm doing 6 shows here, and it's all been great at the review stage. I wish there were more of you here to see me. And here's your chance tonight, Friday the 12th. 6:15 odd times, and then Sunday the 14th at 4:20 p.m. Oh, don't come at 4:21. 4:20 p.m. Check it out. Emil Amok 69. Yeah, Emil Amok 69. It's a fun show, and I break all stereotypes. As a Filipino American, I do not sing. I'm the Milli Vanilli Filipino. All right, serious stuff. Yesterday was 9/11. I did a 9/11 show. And I did a special 9/11 show to those who showed up. And I talked about my 9/11 Jimmy Carter story. Because I was in Plains, Georgia on 9/11. There's been, 24 years of 9/11s. One year I happened to be in Plains, Georgia, and it was Sunday school, and it was quite a coincidence. And Jimmy Carter was so prescient about where America was going. Maybe I'll talk about that in my columns. Inquirer.net, of course, the big story is not 9/11. You don't remember who Sonny Wells was, who Chin Sun Pak Sonny Wells, the 1.5 Korean, grew up in Oklahoma, served in the Army, died in the Pentagon. You don't remember her, don't remember other people who died. On 9/11, everyone was talking about Charlie Kirk. And we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk. And they got him, right? We got him. That was the first words at the press conference today. So we're going to talk about that. Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus, San Francisco State University College of Ethnic Studies. He'll be joining me in a moment. But first, I I think we should read some of the headlines, right? The headline, of course, is that a 22-year-old Utah man, right? I mean, how many people thought he was going to be who he was? A Utah man, Tyler Robinson, right? He was arrested and booked on murder charges in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Apparently, he held deep disdain for the conservative activist's provocative viewpoints, and who wouldn't? It's just that, do you go to the assassin's bullet? No. This is what's wrong with America. But he indicated to a family member, this guy Tyler Robinson, that he was responsible for the shooting. They're not calling it a confession, but it's tantamount to a confession. He was talking to authorities, but now he's getting wise. He's just talking to his attorney. This is all according to authorities. The arrest marked a major break in the case that shocked the country. Tyler Robinson, 22, had become more, quote, more political in the run-up to the shooting and mentioned during a dinner with the family that Kirk would be visiting Utah. This is what Governor Spencer Cox said. The governor cited as evidence engravings on bullet casings found in the rifle that authorities believe was used in the attack. So it's always couched in believed, alleged, we don't know, but this is the guy they believe is the killer, the shooter. They also got into some chat app messages attributed to the suspect that a roommate shared with law enforcement. That is a big break. I don't know how they did it, or if the guy willingly did it, or if there'll be a second suspect. But these are all questions that come out after the announcement this morning that a suspect was now in custody. And the charges will probably come out. In the meantime, Donald Trump has used it to up his militarization of cops in the cities. He's going to Memphis now. Funny he didn't go to Utah. Utah could have used something. Instead, we had to wait a few days for the FBI. But he's going to Memphis now. Why? Because it's a city that's predominantly black? Because it's maybe a kind of a borderline bluish. I think it's more blue, but there's a little red there in Tennessee. Why is he picking on Memphis? All right, so we're going to explore some of these issues. I'm going to bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez. He comes on Friday. We talk about things, and then we put stuff on the little clips on the internet, and you can react to them. Let's bring on Professor Daniel Phil. Hi, Professor. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Good afternoon. It must be Friday. And
yeah.
Hello to Canada.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. I guess my first reaction on 9/11 was to just be quiet about it. I mean, I was shocked, of course, by what happened in the events of 9/10/2025, which was the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. But I didn't want to do a knee-jerk reaction, and I didn't want to get into the Charlie Kirk and I didn't disagree, but I will say this. I loved his right to express himself, and he did so sometimes over the top and did not really have any respect for anyone talking back to him. I mean, if you were dumb and didn't know anything, yeah, he liked you coming up to his tent and debating him. But if you knew something, he wasn't always, I mean, he'd do all he can to troll you and to bring you down in other ways. We know that there are professors and people like that. So, but, excuse me, I wanted to give him some respect, give him sympathy and condolences to the family. But I talked about him yesterday in my show, on stage on 9/11, because he was what people were talking about.
Sure.
So,
how was it? How was whatever you said yesterday on your show? How was that received by the audience?
Well, a lot of people would say, "Oh, Vancouver, it's filled with all these liberals and lefties," and maybe so, but I think far more accurate is the fact that most people in Vancouver are they're just kind and nice. They're everything America isn't right now, and they would just rather, they accept government for what it is. They don't make it a big part of their lives necessarily, but they trust. They have trust in government, generally speaking, and they don't make politics like I said, a big part of their lives, or as big a part of their lives. Um, and so I think it was well received. I mean, there was no jeers. I mean, because you're not going to find that kind of conservative activism here. For the most part, I think people accepted the fact that, oh, I had some views about Charlie Kirk that I thought he was over the top on his views on trans and blacks and abortion. Uh, you just have to just look up Charlie Kirk. What has Charlie Kirk said? But I did talk about how Charlie Kirk justified the use of the Second Amendment. He said the Second Amendment, we got to live with gun deaths because the Second Amendment, it justifies the Second Amendment. So we're never going to have a perfect situation. People are going to die. We're going to live with it, which is the irony of ironies when it comes to
Well,
Charlie Kirk.
he said that when people raised the school shootings issue and this ugly pattern, this really horrific pattern of school shootings from preschool all the way up to PhD. You're in danger if you go to school. And he said, you need armed guards. If we have armed guards at banks, and we have armed guards at entertainment events, we should be having them at schools because of the frequency of school shootings. So that was his answer.
Right. Right. And I know that. I mean, that was his justification for putting armed guards everywhere. Uvalde, Sandy Hook, he said, if you have them at arenas for sporting events and whatnot, hey,
I think
in school. I think that's
is that real? I mean, in practical terms, would it work? Okay. And the answer is it depends on the school. It depends on the school layout. Okay. The only way that you can control that is if you have essentially one or two ways in and one or two ways out of a school, and that both of those are shut down at a specific time. You give people an opportunity to even enter the school late, and other than that, everything shuts down, and you have armed guards. That's the way it would work. Okay, so I'm not completely against that. I think you really got to look at what's going on in those areas. I mean, why is it that Colorado keeps having instances of school shootings?
Well, this is one of the things. I mean, there was a school shooting immediately after his death, and it's just to prove the point. But the irony though is that gun violence, ended his life, and whereas maybe, I mean, he wouldn't consider stronger measures against guns, like more gun control or some kind of laws preventing the wrong people getting guns. So
I don't think would any kind of law, what could have stopped this perpetrator or alleged perpetrator? What could have stopped him from getting a gun?
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't like an AR type weapon. It was just a regular rifle. He wasn't even a good shooter. I mean, it was pretty pedestrian.
He was good enough. He was good enough.
Yeah, he was good enough. But it shows that how this kind of violence is with us. I mean, like you said, I mean, what laws would have prevented this from happening? And if there was an all-out ban on guns, which I'm not suggesting, then people would use other weapons. There'd be more knifings. There'd be more stabbings, right?
Well, see, the pattern has gone towards rifles because you can hit from a distance. That's the whole point. Is that you can hit from a distance. The other thing is, if it was accurate reported, right, that it was a 30-06 Mauser 98, that's an old gun, and it's not subject to the same level of regulation as
Oh yeah,
as current model guns.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems. They get the gun. It's not like you can, go back and there's a registration for all the guns. I mean, an
That's
older
right.
gun, it'd be harder to like pinpoint. And so just, from a legal standpoint, looking at what this guy Tyler Robinson did, his father turned him in. He started talking to the authorities. They pretty much have what appears to be a confession, but legally, if he stopped talking to the authorities and is now just talking to his lawyers, I bet you he's getting a talking to about, hey, you should have shut up. I
Of
mean,
course.
if you were advising him as a lawyer, you'd say, hey, turn yourself in, but don't say a damn thing,
That's basically it.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Anyway, so the big deal is that this morning, after a kind of Keystone Cop-ish kind of way of going about.
That was.
I mean, we had a suspect. We don't have a suspect. Now we got a manhunt. I was starting the conspiracy theory, or I thought that if Charlie Kirk were alive, he probably, in all likelihood, would start a conspiracy theory that this would be good because now we have a nation in fear, and there's a gunman at large, and now we'll have people shutting up and being, doing exactly what we want. This is what an autocrat really wants, and
getting guns.
And getting guns, yeah. People.
Gun purchases always go up. When there's this kind of an event, gun purchases go up. It's
so
really
in some ways, I'm sure there was that, and then there was the idea that what the heck? I mean, Kash Patel is like proving the model minority myth wrong. I mean, he is not acting like the FBI.
He's disproving the model minority. He's disproving the model minority. He is. I mean, people right now, the South Asian community right now are saying, who? Yeah.
Well, this thing, Cat.
This guy is the complete. He's complete antagonistic evidence, right? Of how bright and great community, communities, right, are the South Asian communities, the South Asian society, because look at their overabundance in the high professions.
Well,
right?
I mean,
all of them, all of the high professions, and then you got this guy.
I mean, what's his name? The comedian who's on Substack. Oh God,
the South Asian community, Indian community.
No. I'm talking about Andy Borowitz. Talked about how he just made a joke about Kash Patel being replaced by a deer because Kash Patel has this he has this deer in the headlights look, and it was just an image. It was a joke image that said, "Wow, Kash Patel. I mean, tough guy. He's not really showing his muscles here. He's not really flexing."
Yeah, well,
and this was, but they
got to put his face on Bongino's gun.
Yeah, but
you got to put Bongino on front.
But no. Here's the thing. I think the problem is that Kash Patel is taking his orders from Donald Trump, and that I think is why he is, because who's in the lead here, right? I mean, here Andy Borowitz. His joke was Kash Patel replaced by startled deer. and they show Kash Patel. They show Andy Borowitz is a funny guy. Anyway, no, the point is, I think Kash Patel is the way he is because he's not in command. He's a puppet FBI director who is put in a job that he wasn't qualified for by the man who is running things, Pam Bondi, who is being run by Donald Trump. And that's why, and everything is to please Trump. And who do you think is out there announcing everything? Oh, we got him. He's on Fox. We got him. And it's Trump, right? And who announced Charlie Kirk's death? It was Trump.
Yeah, but the governor said we got him. The first words out of the governor's
We got
mouth
him.
was
Well,
we
wait,
got
at the press conference. At
Okay,
the press
so-
conference. But the first
Yeah.
one to announce it as a leak, he leaked on his own, on the whole thing, was Donald Trump. Donald Trump leaked it. He went on Fox and said, "Hey, here's the guy, Tyler Robinson." And then everyone had to scramble. All the legitimate news organizations that are not propaganda had to scramble and say, "Oh, wait a minute, we got 5 sources that say it's CNN. We have 5 sources, or NBC said we have 5 sources say it's Tyler Robinson." And then everyone,
CBS and CNN.
everyone followed suit.
Yeah.
But who's in the lead on this? Donald Trump. It's important because just consider this: every living president condemned this act of political violence. Every living president, except one, Donald Trump. Donald Trump said it was left-wing rhetoric, which was absolutely polarizing, political, and self-serving, because now he could use Charlie Kirk, who was not 100% loyal to Trump. Charlie Kirk, who said, "Hey, I want to see the Epstein files," right? Now here's Donald Trump using a dead Charlie Kirk and saying, "Hey, here's this good guy, and this is why we need law and order. This is why we have fear, and you need me to step in. We got to militarize the police." This is straight out of autocrats' playbook, right? We're going to instill fear in society. Charlie Kirk is the pretext to do all these things, like going into Memphis. He wouldn't dare go into Utah, right? Why did he send military to Utah? To find the killer.
Yeah. I don't want to be focusing only on Trump. That's the way that we got to this place is that people have been using rhetoric that is literally violent rhetoric, right? And that's become very, very common over about the last 10 to 15 years. Very common. Okay?
I mean, like, let's fight, fight.
Then there's the unevenness. Yeah, I don't have a problem with fight, or struggle or confrontation, words like that. But when you make mistakes like crosshairs, okay, eliminate, okay, those kinds of things, those words came out of Democratic mouths.
Yeah.
Okay? So to the extent that you can say both sides have been responsible. However, okay, if you set up a quantification of the amount and frequency, the degree and frequency of violent rhetoric, there's no comparison. There's no freaking comparison.
The Republicans.
And you can go all the way
the
back
Republicans.
Go all the way back to Goldwater.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well,
go all the way back to
this
Goldwater.
This is the thing. Everyone has adopted the kind of violent rhetoric, but it wasn't violent rhetoric that killed Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk would be the first to say, hey, he uses violent rhetoric himself. He uses the example
all the time.
He uses the example
all the time.
And you know what? I don't criticize him. In my columns, I don't criticize him for that, because I love Charlie Kirk. I think Charlie Kirk and the First Amendment go hand in hand, but I wish he would honor the First Amendment rights of others. And that's where he has fallen down, because he's had his groups of trolls going out after people like the school board members at the San Francisco Unified, like professors who were outspoken. He's gone after them, try to shut them down. So that's his form of political debate, though. His form of political debate was the formal, we're sitting down and we're engaged in actual debate. But then there's the other thing that is a kind of debate, but is more based on bullying, more based on, social media tactics. I mean, that's kind of what he was known for, because that's what he built his. Well,
see, what's more important, Emil, is not just what he does; it's his effect. What's more important is the fact that it has great effect. It got a lot of younger people interested and active in the Republican Party. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, regardless of party politics, it got them talking with the same level of rhetoric and the same kind of anger and viciousness. That's the problem. Okay.
Well,
So it's
yeah,
really,
and
really widespread. It's really
yeah,
widespread. People accept it. Look at the way they talk about the First Amendment. Okay. They wanted to use the N-word. Why shouldn't I be able to use the N-word? Is that not psychological violence? That they want to do that?
it is.
That they want to use
It is.
racist terms that clearly are beyond demeaning. Okay. Using those
Yeah.
terms is
Well,
intended to subjugate people. Okay. To remind them
yeah.
that their righteous place in American society is below white people. It is an assertion of white supremacy. You cannot do that. You can't do that without being socially and psychologically violent. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm coming from. It's a lot deeper
Yeah.
than people are going. So what about
Well,
Trump?
I appreciate you saying that, because it is true. I mean, because his tactics, right? His tactics were subversive. His tactics were not, like I said, were not First Amendment. It was First Amendment for me, but not for thee. He would do everything to suppress, and everything in the name of, as you put it, white supremacy. And that went into policy, like believing in replacement theory, believing
And
in
people who argue that white supremacy isn't a thing, look at his own language. It is a thing. Male white
Yeah.
supremacy is a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Christian white supremacy is a thing. It's in his statements, his own statements. Okay. Look
Yeah.
at the way he describes Muslim religion.
Yeah.
Look
Well,
at the way he describes Islam. He used words like slicing the throat of America. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not violent. That's not violent
Yeah.
rhetoric. Okay. And what is he
I-
doing? He's recalling the imagery, right, of people like Al Qaeda killing people, right, with that style of murder.
Well, in the rhetorical sense, right? Live by the sword, die by the sword, and unfortunately, we have to say, look, you have a right to this, and everyone has a right to just cool it. Everyone has a right to be respectful and responsible, and let's engage, right? Because that's where the people who prop up Charlie Kirk try to get away with his, try to forgive him his trespasses by saying, oh, well, yeah, that was his way. He was violent. But you know what? Charlie was engaging. Charlie was engaging everyone. He was opening up the conversation. I mean, it's almost sickening when you think about his techniques, but people are saying that today like he's a hero. And yes, I respect his right. I respect his right to use the First Amendment, but
if anything was respectable about what he was doing was he was willing to go on college campuses and be confrontational, okay, and exercise his First Amendment rights that way. You're absolutely right, though, because he wouldn't allow that for the feedback coming from students. The question that was asked, that he had responded partially to that last question that was asked of him. And it was, how many transgender people have committed, mass shootings?
Yeah.
And he was in the midst of engaging that question when he got shot. Okay. So there's even a deeper irony, right? Than the fact that he was shot. Okay. And,
I mean,
this is the Second Amendment.
Well, if Charlie Kirk had just been a namby-pamby college debater who just talked about the facts and didn't do anything to get noticed, he would not have been as successful as he was, right?
Well,
what
made Steve Bannon successful? What made Bannon successful?
Right.
What made Stephen Miller? What made him successful?
Well, they go on the edge. They're a little inflammatory, and they get noticed. I would say Charlie Kirk is more like the second coming of Rush Limbaugh to a younger crowd.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Because when I started doing talk radio in the 80s, Rush Limbaugh was flying high locally, going national, and by time
he was just getting started. Yeah, national.
Yeah. And by the time 1988 rolls around, he's nationally syndicated. I found my way, and when I went to NPR, to a national audience, but he was far more. He just, exploded by doing the kind of act that Charlie Kirk did, which was, inflame, polarize, make people think, be somewhat entertaining. But here's where he went a little further. He got into policy. He got into bed with the right wing, specifically, and almost became like a form of lobbyist, another form of lobbyist. And then with the podcast, there are groups or organizations that will gladly pay Charlie Kirk $50,000 to be on his podcast. We have Gavin Newsom, who was on Charlie Kirk's podcast because he's an influencer, right? They're no longer people who lobby Congress, but they're people who influence and lobby the American people, podcasters. And that was Charlie Kirk's carve out of the media 2025. I think he'll be remembered for that, but should he be known as a hero? Should he be known as, should he be lionized by the politicos now?
Well, that's what's wrong with the fact that he was assassinated.
Yeah.
Because inevitably he's going to be martyred. He's going to be seen as a martyr. He's going to be seen as a heroic martyr. Okay. Inevitably, they're going to keep playing it up. I feel for his family. I feel for his wife and kids. I really resent the fact that somebody assassinated this person. I think he should have just gone on, let him say what he's going to say, but develop the ability to confront that effectively. Okay, with words, with logic, with sane argument. Okay,
or
with wit.
Not to turn. I mean, here's what happens though. When Donald Trump politicized it by saying on Wednesday night, the night of the shooting, he said, it's that left-wing rhetoric. That left-wing rhetoric.
Yes, that's right. Radical left.
And actually, everything that Donald Trump says is parroted by half the country, right? Parroted by half the country who still love him. And I had a person I know said to me, he said, do you feel no remorse? Remorse for what? I mean, I talk about this stuff, but I didn't, I didn't.
You feel more remorse that he got assassinated, that Kirk was assassinated?
Yeah. Or
why
it was like it was feel remorse? Like it was my, exactly, like it was my fault. I was hoping he was kidding, but I don't think he was kidding. This is a friend of mine. And I'm saying, wait a minute. There's no reason I should be remorseful. I'm remorseful.
Maybe the guy doesn't understand what the hell remorse means, man.
Well, I think I'm remorseful that people voted for this guy, and Charlie Kirk did all he could to bring people to. Very effective.
One of the reasons he's being heroified is because that people have acknowledged that he was responsible for making the difference, but bringing on younger voters. Okay,
younger voters, and
so there it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
but not people of color. But people of color are like my friend, who might look like me but does not sound like me. And he's saying, you're left-wing rhetoric, Emil. Well, my left-wing rhetoric, I talk about equality, justice, and liberty for all.
That's all left-wing rhetoric. That's all left-wing. It's all left-wing. When we talked about representation and equity and equality back in 68, 69, 70, we were called communists, right? And radical left, I forgot what was
provocateurs
provocateur was too easy, too complicated.
See,
provocateur was too complicated.
You're
people who were not from the campus. I forgot what they called them. but they were outsiders,
outside
right?
agitators. Outside agitators.
Agitators. That's the word I was looking for.
Outside agitators.
It's agitators. We're Maoist, the Marxist-inspired agitators, and and that was partially true. That was partially true because there's a significant element among us that was clearly engaged in the belief that we were the forefront of global revolution. And yes, they were inspired by Mao and Emil.
Dan, hold on. Dan, I have to tell the audience, if they don't know, that you were one of the original strikers at San Francisco State, that you know this because you were there and
I was there.
You understand the slings and arrows that were directed your way.
One of the reasons that a lot of us went to law school, right, and many went to not only to become practitioners of the law, but they became judges, as well, was because the right had used legal means, right, to restrain our constitutional rights openly. All right, so that spiked our curiosity, and then when we looked at the fact that we could make arguments to defeat that kind of political and legal action, that's where we went to law school. And a whole bunch of people that were strikers went on to law school, and as I said, became judges. And they recently retiring. Unfortunately, some of them have passed away, but they became legitimate practitioners of the law, both in front of the bench and behind the bench.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, that kind of motivation is powerful and served the community of people of color well, I think.
Yeah, well, it certainly spiked an interest. Well, it really motivated a lot of people to become lawyers at that time. I mean, but left and right, left, right, moderate. But I would say that even at the local law school, it's a national law school. It's now known as UC Law, and it was formerly Hastings College of Law. It was one of the national schools, and there were 10,000 applicants at times per year. It was ridiculous. For 300 seats, and at least 5,000, at least half of those 10,000 applicants, right, were probably qualified, at least minimally qualified. And so the competition was crazy, and it was like that all the way across the country. All the way across the country was like that.
Hastings is called UC Law now, huh? I forget.
It's called Law. UC Law San Francisco.
Oh no, and then UC and Bolt is known as UC Law Berkeley.
Yes, exactly.
Ah, I see. Bolt, good school. Hastings, good school. All right, so Dan, back to the Kirky thing. One of the things I point out in my article in theinquirer.net is how Charlie Kirk should not be used as a pretext to crack down on free speech or to crack down with people who disagree with the right, with MAGA, with Trump. But that's my big fear right now. My big fear is that he will be used as this pretext, the excuse to go after people who don't sound like Charlie Kirk, who don't sound like Donald Trump. What do you think?
Well, it's already happening. It's already been happening, and so I think pretext is a little short of the effect. I think it's going to be even more. It's going to be a strong motivator. It's going to enhance so-called conservative motivation to attack even more strongly. That's the irony of the situation, right? They're going to become even more aggressive, and their attack is going to be even stronger, right? Regardless of the quality of the rhetoric, the aggression is going to increase.
And look, they're not going after Tyler Robinson. They're not going after 22-year-olds, who got a weapon, who were allegedly, shot Charlie Kirk. They're using it to go after everyone.
Well,
and
I think
what scares me because
the female members of Congress, especially in the lower house, that have both on the left and the right, and it's interesting, right? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC are both concerned. Even Boebert, they're concerned with the same thing, and that is the likelihood of increased violence and the lack of adequate security.
Well, I mean, we saw what happened on January 6th. We saw, numerous examples just in the last year, over the last few years, from the congressional baseball game to someone mentioned Melissa. Oh God, I'm bad with names. The Minnesota State.
Homer. Up in
see, I mean, and I said, oh my God, how quickly we forget the state speaker of the Minnesota House, how she and her husband, and dog were gunned down. I mean, it was like,
and there was also another attempt which failed, and then there was a list of at least 2 or 3 other Democratic members of their state legislature and state government that were also on the list.
Right.
So this person was on their way. And he was equipped.
Yeah, and let's not forget Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and let's not forget
and the 2 attempts on
Nancy
Mr. Trump,
Pelosi's
2
husband.
attempts on the president of the United States.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why when Trump said he was blaming the left wing, rhetoric, I said, wow, this could have been a way to win over more people by saying condemnation of all political violence, which he did not do. But the moment that
because he wants
when he said
violent against left-wing radicals, the radical left.
Yeah, but the other thing else, the other thing is he takes control of the news cycle, and no longer are we talking about the story that broke on Monday, which was the outline of the Jeffrey Epstein drawing that Donald Trump did that was now in Congress's hands, and now we
the best argument they have is what? Best argument they have is what? It's not real.
It's not his signature.
It's a forgery.
It's not real.
It's a forgery.
Yeah.
That's not my language. That was his. That was his argument. Yeah. Everybody knows that's not my. That's not my way. Okay.
They showed the Wall Street Journal, which is going to defend itself in the lawsuit because Trump has sued him. The Wall Street Journal said, well, look, he has used the word enigma in the past. He knows the word enigma. So it is his language. And the other bits of the other examples of the language in the letter are about, 4th, 5th grade.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's at least 4th or 5th grade level. So,
the thing about secrets.
And definitely the woman, it looked like a drawing of a young girl. I mean, the outline of a young girl. If you look at
two things really bothered me. Really bothered me about the drawing. Yeah. One, it was Venetian. It was Venus, no arms. Okay, so not even a hint that there's arms out there. The other thing was.
Wait a minute. Was it Venus?
No.
Was it supposed
I don't
to
think
be
he was.
Venus?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it was armless, and it was. I thought it was pretty bad. And not only that, the placement of what I think is supposed to be the breast. I mean, we're talking about breasts coming out of the collarbone.
Okay.
I thought, wow, man, that's really pretty crazy. And is he doing that? Is he doing that just because he didn't want it? The text to get in the way, right? He didn't want it. But I looked at that and said, wow, man, that's pretty bad. It's really bad.
And the signature where the pubic.
That's right. That's right. Right where it says Donald.
I mean,
Donald
Trump is yeast infection.
He placed himself pubically.
With a long tail.
That was a singular hair. Singular hair. Yeah. People.
Yeah, just like the
I
hair.
got
a little hair there.
Oh no, you had to go there.
So,
you had to go.
Yeah, well, You asked me.
When
Hey,
did they
so,
start
all right,
making?
so
When
here's
did
the
they start
thing.
making black floss? Okay, anyway.
I did. All right, so back to Kirk. We're not talking about the letter. We're not talking about Epstein. We're talking about Kirk. That's what Trump wants. But like I said, he just sidesteps. Like he didn't send troops to Utah. He sends troops to Memphis for what reason? Memphis.
Well, he wants to show Tennessee is mostly red, but they got a a Democratic governor, and Memphis has got a strong black population. All you have to know is Green Onions. Green Onions was the first jazz blues, instrumental that made it to the top '1 position nationally and internationally. Green Onions is still a favorite right today, and that came out of Memphis in the 50s. So there it is. So why Stax Records? That's right, boy. You got to be hip to know that. Are you hip?
Hey, I had those records, man.
What color was the label? Okay, can you remember what color the label was?
It was yellow.
No. Well, mine was light blue. Mine was light blue. It could have been. It could have been. You're right. Yeah, Stax Records.
Well, there was Stax and there was Chess. Remember Chess? Chess Records.
That's pretty bad. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So we're going.
Yeah, they had Chess. But I remember Booker T and the MGs. Come on.
That's
Booker
right.
T.
That's right.
Steve Cropper. Come on, Booker T, the MGs.
Sure. Man, that's really good stuff.
Really good stuff. But here's the thing: you got the shooter now. The alleged shooter. It turns out to be a white guy. It's a white guy. It's a white on white crime.
No, yeah,
we should be talking. No one's talking about white on white crime.
What the percentage is? What's the percentage on white who commits the most mass shootings?
I mean,
right?
This is something that no one's talking about. Like they're expecting some long-haired hippie or something. I don't know. They're suspecting it's going to be a race war. It's going to be, a black, brown, Asian person or something like the Asian guy who liked to burn up the Tesla plants. But this was a white on white crime, and I can't wait for them to sort of we're not going after, but what was Trump's reaction? Let's go after the black city. Let's go after Memphis. Let's send the troops there. We can't go after Utah. And so everything is about raising the temperature with Donald Trump when he should be kind of like, lowering it a little bit.
Anyway. The Violence Project. I'm on mass shooters right now. 52.3% of public mass shooters from 1966. That's good. I like it when they go all the way back to the 60s. To 2019 were white. 52.3%, while 20.9% were black, 8.1% Latino, and smaller percentages from other racial groups. Another analysis found that 54.4 mass shooting perpetrators were white. There you go.
So, and what was the 52? What was the 52 number?
52.3% of public mass shooters from 66 to 2019. It was the period. Okay. The period of time.
Over 50% white.
Oh yeah.
So that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense.
I think more recently it probably will increase.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's got to be a big surprise when they saw a guy and it turned out to be a guy who could have been Charlie Kirk. Who could have looked like Charlie Kirk, white guy, tall white guy, and white on white crime.
Yeah,
let's see him deal with that.
Well, he's going to face the death penalty for sure. That was another thing that thing that Mr. Patel jumped on really quick, right? Is the death penalty.
Well, at the insistence. Yeah, at the insistence of Trump, no doubt. I mean, he's got a pipeline. He's not his own man. Not in that job.
Yeah.
I mean, and everything's got to be funneled through Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
Trump's favorite.
Yep.
So, Dan, where's our country now? I mean, are we going to get
Yeah,
out of this? And we had
no,
9/11.
no, it's
I,
it's going to get worse. There are going to be reactions.
yeah,
From the right, and I think the left will push uh, the humanity side of things and try to calm people down. I think they'll be more careful about the rhetoric they use, um, and I
mm,
think they'll push for a greater level of security for members of their own ilk.
yeah,
For elected officials. Hopefully, they'll say for elected officials, not just Congress
yeah.
itself.
Well, you see what happens when Trump takes away the Secret Service, protection for Kamala
Sure,
Harris,
they
and for goes after Bolton. I mean, he's weaponizing government against his opponents,
well the word
and
the word weaponizing. I really have come to really hate it at this point, right? Because
yeah,
because it really is an overgeneralization that is easily subject to both sidesism, right? That they did it first, that
yeah,
they did the weaponizing. When you go back and look at who started using government and governmental authority, particularly police authority, to
hmm
use it as a force of intimidation and then as a force
hmm
of actual violence, okay? How does that stack up? Who had the power
well,
and
I have to
control?
admit,
Yeah, it's always been the right.
people have to,
It's always been the
yeah,
right. It's always been people who could claim
mhm,
conservative commitment to the Constitution and constitutional rights that have always been willing to sell those rights short, to always supply
yeah,
restrictions on exercises of the rights. Okay, it's been the left that expanded and extended who and when people can exercise those rights. It's always come from the left. Okay, so we're going back to the right again, and we've been moving in that direction ever since 1973, the last major liberal court decision. 1973, Roe versus Wade. After that, everything
yeah,
started swinging to the right, and now clearly the court has been actively pursuing, okay, a recidivism, a kind of court rush
yeah.
to the right,
Go back,
yeah, to
yeah.
get rid of.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
they're gonna do something.
yeah,
They've
well,
already done police power and put restrictions on
yeah, well,
Miranda. They put restrictions on Miranda, on Escobedo, and all of the cases that expanded
how about the
on
ICE?
on Fifth, Sixth, and Seventh and Eighth Amendment rights, right? Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh,
Yeah, well, how about the fourth?
and the
The
14th.
fourth with
Yes,
the ICE, right? Where, yeah,
probable
where
cause.
I thought maybe I would not have any problem, going back across the border.
Right.
Um, well, I don't know. Now, they can stop you if you have a Spanish last name. They can stop you if you, look, like you don't belong.
Yeah. Well,
And
unfortunately, you have a Bay Area
I mean,
accent, and that might be enough.
yeah, maybe. But if I don't,
No,
if
no.
I
Be
talk
very
like that,
careful.
no.
Be careful to distinguish
Yeah.
between the P and the F.
Well, officer.
Make sure you
Well,
yeah,
officer.
you have to be careful to
I'm not from the Philippines.
enunciate the P and the F
I'm not.
very clearly. Enunciate the
Yeah,
difference
I'm
between the P and the P
enunciating.
very clearly. Yeah, and try not to roll your
Yeah.
R's.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I'm practicing here in Canada. I like, we always like to end talking about Canada. My love for Canada. I've started watching CFL football.
Oh, whoa.
That's got to be, I know the team. I like the Edmonton Elks. I like. They used to be called the Eskimos, but you got rid of the Eskimos because that's racist. So it's Edmonton Elks. I've been watching the Winnipeg Jets. Oh no, the Winnipeg. What's Winnipeg? The Winnipeg Bay Bombers. Excuse me. The Jets are.
Yeah, I
The
don't know
hockey
about
team.
the use of the term bombers,
But
but anyway.
yeah, but I like CFL football, and I have a joke about the CFL in my show where I said, well, I was a great Pop Warner football player, and I thought maybe I'd play pro. Like, oh, not NFL, CFL. That always gets a good. It always gets a good year. So, Dan.
Yes, sir.
We're winding down here.
Yeah.
We had a nice run of luck with the internet, but I thank you for being on. Vancouver is really a beautiful city.
Absolutely.
And I'm on Granville Island at the review stage, and if you should be up here in Vancouver, there's your QR code. You can like look at it and punch it up. But I'm at the review stage. Now you can see it scroll across the screen also. I'm playing tonight, 9/12 at 6:15 p.m. And that's a good time. You know, I don't screw up your evening too much if you come to the show. And then Sunday, Marienda time, 4:20 p.m., 9:14.
Yeah, well,
Emil Amok,
after your Marienda show would be a great time for dinner. And there are some outstanding restaurants in Vancouver.
Oh, yes.
The
very, very definitely.
The variety of restaurants, rivals San Francisco and LA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Asian, South Asian, Filipino. I will say this.
Yep.
If you happen to be in the Bay Area, and I know you are, I will be doing my show. I'll be making an announcement sometime in November in San Francisco. That'll be the big push after this. I'm doing some things in October. I'm doing the Filipino Comedy Festival in San Francisco. So you ought to come to that.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of September. So I'll tell you about that. And then we're doing some things, me and you at the library. So we got some things happening. Dan, thank you for joining me. Stay with me. Hang with me on the other side. Let me say goodbye to the good folks. I did want to say one thing about breaking news while we were talking. This is from the New York Times. EPA to stop collecting emissions data from polluters. Talk about neutering the EPA, huh?
Wonderful.
We're pro-pollution. It's almost like the Fresno schools. They got rid of the DEI. They got rid of DEI department, and they came up with a new name. And I said, well, if you're going to get rid of DEI, why not just call it the Department of Racism? That would be more direct. That would be more direct and accurate.
Yeah. Racism, misogyny, racism, racism, misogyny, and homophobia.
Yeah, or just call it the Department of Exclusion, the Department of You Don't Count.
Oh, there you go.
The Department of We Don't Care. Yeah. Department of Racism, too blunt, but racism, exclusion, and white supremacy.
I think I'm going to suggest the formation of a new department for public affairs, the Department of Excretion.
Excretion. Oh,
yes. Yes.
Yes. Department. Having been an excreter at one time in my life, but for a good excretion. All right. So, so Dan, stay with me on the other side while. We were gonna do this thing, this explanation. We said something about the cultural differences in environmental awareness between Canada and between the paradox of gun control and violence in marginalized communities. And some guy said, victims of violence is not true. You can't equate ridicule with violence. Plus, a lot of shooters are coming from that group. Might have something to do with the fact that they are easy to convince. I don't understand what this guy meant, but he commented on our post. And I think this had to do with gays or trans people having guns. You made a statement.
Right.
Well, what did you mean by that? Or how do you want to answer?
Well, it was sarcasm. I was being facetious when I said,
of course,
that if the factual part is that white men committed the vast majority of mass shootings. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's factual. Right. It's also factual that transgender people suffered high levels of violent violent. They suffer violence, a great deal of violence, both in terms of extremity and frequency. Okay, people who were partially or completely transgender, murdered easily. Lots of people dying from it, not just assaults. Okay, so my argument was, white men should be disarmed. Okay, transgender people should be armed. Okay, and when you look at LGBTQ and women, they also should be armed. That was my position.
This is an argument worthy of Charlie Kirk saying, "Hey, how do you protect the kids in school? Arm the security
guards. You got armed security."
Guards. I mean, you were being facetious and he wasn't. So,
yeah, the only reason I was being facetious is that I don't think, people would do it. I don't think that the transgender people and LGBTQ people would be willing to arm themselves.
No, I think they'd be peace lovers. They'd say, "What are you talking about? I don't get the joke."
The point. Yeah. And that is what makes them even more vulnerable, because people know that they'd be less likely to be violent.
Yeah. Well, all right. So you explained the point, and you might see.
So we didn't understand what the guy meant when he said those people are more vulnerable, and therefore, we didn't understand that part.
But anyway, look.
Maybe he'll get back to us. Maybe he'll get back to us. We welcome the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, we may not answer, immediately, but
whatever.
Anyway, all right, Dan. All right. Thank you very much.
Take care.
We'll see you again. I'll be back in the Bay Area. Take care. Don't leave.
Break a leg. Break another leg.
Don't leave. I'll talk to you on the other.
Break another leg.
Yeah. Definitely. There he goes. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend. College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus. We come and talk about the news generally on Fridays. We want to do it earlier, but we're here. And, we got it's a white on white crime. This guy, Tyler Robinson. Hey, Emil Amok, 69. Don't miss it. If you're in Vancouver, in the Great Northwest, I'm at the Vancouver Fringe. Check it out. And I'm there Friday, the 12th, tonight, 6:15. And also Sunday, the 14th at 4:20 p.m. It's a show about how politics is personal and the personal is politics in America. Check it out. I might even talk about Charlie Kirk. Emil Amok 69, QR code, Vancouver Fringe, the review stage, Granville Island. Beautiful theater, beautiful setup for a Fringe. It's been a fun Fringe. We close out on Sunday. I hope you can make it. And if you miss it, I'm going to do the show again somewhere in Northern California soon. So check it out. All right, that's it for our show. We like to leave you with a little meditation, a little loving kindness meditation. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Emil Amok. Till next time. Mahal